Hi, girls. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Maybe just kick off with a brief introduction to this incredible survival thriller, Something in the Water. For people who don't know anything about the film, what can they expect?
I mean, I guess the way that I describe it is it's fun until it isn't. But it's about, a group of five women kind of getting together. It's a lot of friendship, a lot of camaraderie, and putting, that friendship in a really difficult kind of situation.
And I mean, there is something about this genre, I guess more generally, this sort of survival thriller that people just always want to come back to. And then more specifically, I guess, with the kind of shark element to it. Growing up, was this the kind of film that you loved watching? Were you a fan of Jaws, et cetera, et cetera? What might have bled into, the way you approach the film and approach the script?
I would say for me, I love all kind of films in that kind of thriller, horror, Jaws category. I am a horror gal. I do like my horror movies, although this is a thriller, not a horror. But there are elements, and in terms of taking from something like Jaws, for example, I think for me and kind of my preparation, I read like this extract from the Jaws book about that moment where the lady in the water first gets bitten, and just the description that is given was so great to kind of keep in my head in terms of like the feeling and the blood and the feeling of that, all of that I think was just really helpful in kind of my thought process in preparing.
I'm not very much a thriller horror kind of. I like comedies. I like light and airy. I'm a very anxious person, so I will preemptively tense myself, and then jump scares will hit way harder for me. So I have never really been, and I enjoy the ocean a lot. So I was like, I probably shouldn't watch shark movies if I want to continue enjoying the ocean. So my approach to the film was also because when I read the script, it didn't read, I was like, I didn't look at it and go, oh, this is a shark movie. There's so much basis in like humanity, basis in each character, and like a groundedness, that I was like, oh, it's just kind of a slice of life, except that slice of life went horribly wrong. So I think that was kind of the way that I read and approached it.
Yeah, I think that's something that really stood out to me because, yeah, although ostensibly you might put it in that category, actually the heart of the film is about all these characters, their relationships to each other, about that kind of aspect of female friendship. And I think what really comes across is that all those characters and dynamics feel so lived in. So I guess maybe you could say a bit about how you approach your specific characters, but also built that kind of environment on set so that you all those dynamics felt really familiar to you.
It's interesting because I feel like we were talking about this even when filming. We all share aspects with our characters, and so I feel very fortunate that we all got along very naturally. When we met for the first time, in the Dominican Republic, and I know at least for Cam, I brought a lot of myself into that character. A lot of the goofiness is just really, and I didn't realize it till my family watched the movie, and they're like, "That's just you," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess that is just me." But I'd say Cam is the outgoing, impulsive version of me who doesn't really think things through, who underthinks instead of overthinks. And so it's myself, but a more wild child version. So I thought that was kind of fun to get to play with those dynamics, but also just be a character that is, for all intents and purposes, me.
And for you, Ellouise, playing Ruth?
I think Ruth is probably very similar to Nicole. She's probably me times maybe like 30 or something like that. I said when I first read the script, I said Ruth is definitely a Virgo. I'm a Virgo. So I know the Virgo tendencies of maybe wanting to be in control a little bit in certain situations, quite sensible, but also knows how to have fun. But I would say Ruth is kind of a more extreme version of me. But it was very enjoyable to play Ruth, and also to kind of see the dynamics within all the different friendships. I mean, they're all very different, but they all just blend so well together and all bring different aspects to that friendship group, which I think just makes them really relatable.
And the other thing, I guess, not only sort of the characters make this film feel very grounded, but also everything just feels very realistic. Like all these scenes when you're in the water, and all I kept thinking was, oh my God, these poor actresses, how long were they actually in this water? You know, what was that experience like? I mean, was it really, really challenging? Did you have sort of like a cold beer waiting for you on the boat, you know, to at least kind of unwind at the end of each day, or how did it go?
In terms of filming in the water, I think I kind of mentioned a while ago just about use those different elements really bring something to the performance of performing in the water. You know, you've got to use that to your advantage, and I think it was quite enjoyable to be able to use this different medium in that way to kind of try and elevate your performance. I think it was very challenging. I did get a little nibble from a crab at one point when I was in this filming in the sea, so I put on my swimming shoes after that. In the tank, it was a lot colder than I think we expected, but I think that's a great thing about just working with such a wonderful group of people and a great crew, that, you know, you kind of keep that morale up by just, you know, having great conversations, having a laugh, but also being there for each other. So I think that really helped in maybe the more challenging like filming days.
And for you, Nicole, I mean, you definitely have a pretty full-on scene, you know, towards the end. So, you know, how did you pull all that off?
I just had a lot of fun, to be honest. I think there's a scene towards, I guess it's maybe towards the middle end of the film that I did was my favorite to film. It was so much fun. Like, and for me, like, it was just like getting to kind of work through those dynamics and like work with my stunt double Zoe Purdy. She was excellent. And even Ellouise mentioned about keeping morale up. Zoe was the queen of keeping morale up. She would be dancing around in the water when we got cold to help keep us warm. But just getting to like work with her and learn from her different techniques on like different things where it's, you know, there are certain technical elements that I had to make sure to be able to get when we were capturing, you know, certain parts of the film. That was a lot of fun, but there, you know, you had to make sure that because you're in the tank, there are certain things you have to be aware of, as well as the camera, if you're drifting out of frame. I had a lot of fun getting to do those things. The one thing that I think was honestly the most challenging for me is just I got cold in the tank, and then also being like just perpetually a little bit damp was like one of those. And I'm like, I need to be out of the water for a little bit after filming this. Like, I've gotten my fill of swimming for a little.
And hopefully you're not afraid of going back in the sea now after being involved in this film. But thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and really can't wait for everyone else to see Something in the Water. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.